If you're a Groyper, spoiler alert, you're going to love this episode of the Luke Papala Show. So go do me a favor right now and subscribe. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Luke Papala Show. Crazy things happening yesterday. Nick Fuentes finally went on Patrick Bet-David. If you're not familiar with Patrick Bet-David talking about Nick Fuentes in the past 6 months, it feels like Nick has just been gaining momentum after momentum after momentum, going on his generational run, gaining popularity in all of his beliefs. If you don't know Nick Fuentes, he's an alt-right figure with racialistic views, to say the least. And a lot of people have attacked him. However, he has this insane following, and I count myself as one of the followers. This guy is so smart, the smartest political commentator, in my opinion, on the right. He's young, he's coming up, whatever. But he's also a little bit extreme at times in his language. And this is somebody who pushes ideas that we haven't seen in mainstream media in a long time. If you don't know Nick, I encourage you to look him up before you watch this. Go through all of his stuff. He's very interesting, very smart, and has a lot of great points. And so this is something that Patrick Bet-David has often cited, right? Something that Nick has done in the past. He says the N-word. He just says it in the way he talks in his speech, right? And on his shows, he doesn't hold back anything. And some people like this, but Patrick Bet-David in particular has cited this as a reason in the past to keep Nick from coming on the show. And it seems like the momentum was just so big that he finally caved. And he had Nick on. And I'm just going to say, fellas, this is quite insane. I can't believe that this is happening. This is, once again, part of that generational run. But I just want to tell you I'm looking at the episode right now, and then we're going to play a couple of clips. But I'm looking at the YouTube episode itself right now, and it almost has 1.9 million views in less than 48 hours at this moment in time. This is his biggest episode ever that he's done, biggest collaboration ever that he's ever done on YouTube. And we're going to talk about YouTube in a second for him. But just this is something that's huge right now because, unfortunately, after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, Nick is now the young figure in right-wing politics in this country. So I'm going to play this for you. This is basically, if you're looking at this interview and you haven't watched it yet and you're a longtime fan, it's basically just his origin story. Now, you may get a little bit annoyed by this, but keep in mind, this is introducing the Groypers and Nick's talking points to a mainstream audience for the first time in a lot of these people's lives. So it's important that they don't know or that they don't think that he's racist off the bat, because then they're going to dismiss everything. So here they are in one clip particular. Nick's talking about Israel, and he's talking about what red pilled him. And he's particularly talking about to PBD why he saw Ben Shapiro in particular and how he saw Ben as Israel first and not America first, and what red pilled him on Israel. So we're going to play that for you now. Here we go.
What is the timeline from that moment, 18, to frustration and animosity towards Ben?
Well, I had already had animosity towards him.
Why is that?
So in December, some months before, I put out a tweet on Twitter, and I had about 1,000 followers on Twitter. 1,000. Think of that's not a big account. And I tweeted, I said, if you put China over America, you should go to China. If you put Mexico over America, you should go to Mexico. You see where this is going? I said, if you put Israel over America, you should go live in Israel. Shapiro quote tweeted that and said, accusing Jews of dual loyalty is the surest sign that you're an anti-Semite.
At 1,000 followers? Why would he retweet that?
Someone must have sent it to him.
We're going to continue on with that clip. But how crazy is that, first off? I mean, this was back in, this is years ago. This is 2017 from what they said in the conversation. And I'm listening to this, right? I've watched the whole episode, by the way, 10 out of 10. And I'm listening to this, and I'm thinking, he had to have known. Somebody had to have tipped him off. Ben probably already knew about Nick, and he obviously saw how talented he was. But to see this, and when Nick was relatively at a low follower count and didn't have any influence, if any, and to be able to just pick it out and label him as anti-Semitic like that, to kind of kill the baby in the cradle because he saw what was coming, it's quite interesting. Back to the clip.
Does he know anything about you at the time? Are you a formidable name in a circle that he would know about you?
He had been tipped off about me because Cassie Dillon had filmed this debate I did on campus.
Yeah.
She live streamed it on Twitter, and he saw it. And she texted him and said, "You got to take this guy under your wing. He's unbelievable. He's the next big thing. He's a little Trumpy," she goes, because they hated Trump at that time.
Who was their candidate? I know they were DeSantis 2020, but who were they 2024? But who were they during that time?
In 16, they were for Rubio, Cruz.
Oh,
ultimately.
Cruz was it back at that time. I remember that. Okay, so she says you got to go because he's a little bit Trumpy. And then what's his response to her?
He said, "I'll take a look at him. I'll take a look."
And
at his
she
stuff."
told you that. So she said to you, "I told Ben he should," and he said, "He'll take a look at
She
you."
sent me the screenshot. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So now this is starting to make sense. So at this point, while you're going through this, you when you put that tweet out, were you directing it towards him or not at all? Was it a general blanket statement?
It was a blanket statement.
So it was nothing like a little bit, 10% was towards Ben.
I didn't tag him or anything. I mean,
I know, but were you like saying this is towards him? Because if you're saying, the feeling, when did you first get a feeling that Ben is Israel first?
It was, it was right around the time that I realized that there was a lot of Israel first.
So is this
stuff.
before December of, what would it be, 16? Is this
It was around that time,
Okay.
right around that time.
So you're kind of going through this process where you're like, I think Ben is Israel first. I don't know why he's not supporting Trump and he's going more Ted. And maybe Ted would be more pro-Israel. Even we saw the conversation with Ted and on what do you call it, Tucker a couple months ago, which I thought it was a great show on both ends. I actually liked watching it. I think it was good for the viewership. So you're talking to her. What is your goal in mind with her? Do you have any goal in mind? Like, do you want her to convert to your way of thinking? Are you trying to kind of tell her, man, listen, you're going to the dark side the way you're going right now? Is that kind of where you're going or not at all?
I was just, at that point, I wasn't even sure that I was right about any of it.
And how about that? So I don't want to make it like we're constantly playing the clips, whatever the case may be. But, like, isn't that insane? That Nick in particular was one of these first ones to see that Ben, probably the most prominent one, but also a lot of people in conservative politics were Israel first over America. And this is all the way back when Trump was first running. And to Nick's credit, he points out that Ben, if you correctly remember, Ben was not pro-Trump, did not even vote for Trump in the 2016 election. Why? Because Trump said Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo. Said to AIPAC, like, I'm not taking your money. He was a self-funder. The most insane presidential win in our lifetime. Changed everything. And unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way it was supposed to. Whatever. But that was insane. When I put this together, that Ben was pro-Israel over pro-America, or more pro-Israel than pro-America, it was relatively recently, bro. It was last year. I mean, I wasn't always a huge Shapiro fan, Daily Wire fan, but I would watch the podcasts multiple days out of the week. But it wasn't until October 7th where it fully got me. And it wasn't until then, and honestly, probably a year after, starting early 2024 last year, where I started to put the pieces together. It's no, this guy is the whole show's about Israel now. When you live in America, you were born in America, you should care about America first, the country you were born in, the country that you live in. But then you start to dig into everything, and you start to go back, and you start to do your research about not just Ben, but other people who have Israel as their main common thing that they care about, for lack of a better term. And it makes sense. It does make sense. You can understand, if you, from a human perspective, why Shapiro cares more about Israel than America. But then again, move to Israel. And so Nick correctly points that out, and he's introducing this whole concept to a mainstream audience on PBD. And a very good interview. I was very happy with the interview, and that's the first thing. So obviously then Nick is one of the original Jewish question people, right? Pointing out that there's unfair Jewish influence in the United States. And PBD has an interesting question for him. He says, who is the bigger threat to the country, Jews or Muslims? And Nick's answer is quite predictable, but he gives a very interesting take. So we're going to play that clip for you now. Here we go.
What do you think about between the two communities, Muslim and Jews? Which one concerns you more?
Jews, for sure.
Tell me why.
More powerful. They're more powerful.
So more powerful in a way, you're talking the fact that they have money, finance, Hollywood. Is that what you're?
Yeah, they have more position in American society.
And how do you think they got that?
I think they got it because they are extremely connected. They're a transnational entity. You know, this is how the Rothschilds got started. Their superpower is that they live everywhere, and they have their Jewish identity supersedes their local identity. So a Jewish person in America or in Germany or in France or in the UK, they can all talk to each other and work together.
Do you
and
think that's a bad thing?
Not in and of itself. It is detrimental for America.
Which is true. And yeah, it was an honest take. It wasn't like he didn't have the temperature very high when he was discussing that. But I thought PBD, his follow-up question, which was minutes after, so I didn't include it in this episode, it was quite interesting. He said, based off of your last answer, who do you think is a better net positive to America, Jews or Muslims? And Nick, again, this is a true take. He said Jews are a more net positive. They've contributed more when you talk about art, science, history. You can talk about all of the positive things that they've done for America. As a whole, they're a more net positive. I mean, it's just not a question. So I think he was very fair in the interview. And PBD, to his credit, was very fair to Nick as well. So to move on, I have one more clip for you, and it's after. PBD is praising Nick's sense of humor and is saying that with something like this, he can go far, and on top of that, he wants to do more collaborations with him in the future. And I know personally, I would love to see it. Just seeing Nick get mainstream attention at all is amazing. And I hate to glaze at the beginning of the episode, but it's just remarkable that this episode even happened, this podcast even happened, because for so long it felt like PBD wasn't going to have him on. And Nick was saying, hey, I'd love, throw me a bone. I'd love to come on. I'm a nice guy. Look at this, man. Look at PBD essentially glaze him.
Yes, it is. And I see a bunch of stuff going on with you guys, all the names, everybody going back. I've watched the clips. We react to some of them here on the podcast. If you see us when we react to it, and you're always making noise. So you're we have to react to your sense of humor is, let me tell you, you have that sense of humor and the wit. It's a secret weapon, because you can have all the brains you want. You can be a very good communicator, but if you don't have that funny sense of humor side, that is a secret weapon that can't be taught. You can go take all the Udemy classes. You can go to Harvard, Yale. You can go to whatever courses you want to go take. You can study everything about the Constitution. Know every word better than anybody. The Federalist paper, you can recite it. The Bible, all of it. You don't have a sense of humor? And you're sarcastic. You're a troll. You got all of that. So it's great for camera.
Yes.
But, Nick, I really appreciate you coming out. I got respect for you that you paid for it yourself. Allow me to pay for you next time if you come out. You don't have to worry about the driving. Let us at least take care of your flight. But I look forward to many more conversations that we have together. This was actually, when people say, what do you think is going to happen? I think we're going to have a great conversation. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a great conversation.
I'm glad to hear it.
Anytime.
Thank
Appreciate
you, man.
buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. Yes, it is.
So, in summary, I think it was a great conversation too. I mean, like I said, if you are a casual guy that's never really heard about Nick Fuentes, or you've heard his name but you're not sure what he's about, this was your stepping stone to everything else, to Rumble, to the forums online, to all of the Groyper adjacent accounts such as this one, and just these new viewpoints that you may not have considered before. And it was such a great episode, man. It's just, I gave it a 10 out of 10, quite honestly, because PBD was very fair to him, too. And this is in contrast to the Candace interview, where Candace immediately, like as soon as it started, she was really hostile to him, drilling him about the backstory, when it was a similar conversation, but PBD wasn't hostile. PBD is a great interviewer. He has everybody on, right, left, center. It was just so cool to see it, man. It was so cool to see this episode finally materialize. And I don't know. Some people online are skeptical, though, because this was Nick's first ad read ever. He did an ad read for Manect. And people are skeptical about that. People are talking about him changing up. But I really don't think he's changed up. He hasn't. I mean, granted, I've only been a fan since probably December of 2024. Prior to that, I'd only known who Nick was from people on CNN and Fox News saying in 2022, Donald Trump had lunch with a white nationalist, Nazi Nick Fuentes. That's the first time I heard his name. But it's crazy now because we have a different topic. Okay, so Nick went on PBD and he's been on this generational run. He's been doing all of these interviews on YouTube. And there's been talk now that Google has reported that the Biden administration pressured them to censor all different types of political hate speech, is what they deemed it. And if you remember, right, Nick got banned from YouTube in 2021. Right after Jan 6th, he was banned. And so people are saying now that there's a chance that Nick Fuentes could be let back on YouTube. A little bit crazy because he's been kind of ousted to Rumble and he was just let back on X last year. But if they let him on a mainstream platform, he is going to skyrocket. There's no question in the world he will skyrocket in popularity because this guy, man, this guy is so intelligent, so smart. You may not agree with him politically, but if you allow him to just make his case, I guarantee you he can win you over. And this is a guy that's trying to save Western civilization, believe it or not. Save America no matter what, but Western civilization in and of itself. And the reason that I don't think that we've been able to do that is because his ideas, I believe, work. This whole thing about kind of sugarcoating Catholicism and sugarcoating Christianity and saying, oh, we should all be together and diverse, and we should all just be, one big melting pot. I don't think that works, and he's the one that kind of put me on to that. I don't think that works. It's not working right now. There's a reason why all of these countries that he talks about have been able to succeed. There's a reason why he cites the majority white countries have been able to be so successful for so many years, for civilizations. Everything he talks about makes sense. And so, yes, it's racial, but he's somebody that has good faith, and you could just look at this interview. He's somebody that when you look at him from a whole, when other people talk to him, and he's not just ranting to a camera, he's somebody that's a good faith actor, I think. He's a good faith person. He's somebody that truthfully believes what he says. It's all been consistent from the time he started doing broadcasts. You go all the way back to 2018 when he's doing his show. He's the same person. He's matured a little bit in terms of just growing up and not trying to turn the temperature up all the time. But it's going to be really interesting to see if YouTube reinstates Nick Fuentes because, if you do recall, the Full Send podcast with Donald Trump back in 2022 that was banned after Google announced all of this, that they're going to unban all of these creators that were censored for political speech. They put that one back up in 2022. It was recorded. And if you remember, it was like 20 million views in 24 hours. Trump's first ever podcast that he was on. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's back. And I'm somebody too. They banned shit from my channel. They banned an episode where back in 2021, I had two guests. We were talking about vaccines and just how it was really awkward how some people that we knew, right after they got certain vaccines, they had something. There was a disease that they got without saying the name because I'm fearful of being censored. I'm not going to lie. But they took that one down. It was a high performer. And then we talked about, on a different episode, we talked about COVID. And they banned that for the same thing, medical misinformation. Then they banned another one for hate speech, and nothing was hateful about the episode at all. I haven't had any notification, anybody contact me that said they're going to reinstate my videos, but like they do this to everybody, man. For a while, for that 4 years, the Biden administration was kind of coming down on people through these social media companies that they disagreed with was nuts. You could point to the lab leak theory, etc. It is nuts. So to kind of close this topic on the show, if they do reinstate him, he's gonna skyrocket. So good on PBD for having Nick on, and yeah, man, really exciting to see. It's so cool because me and Shad were talking about this off air a couple days ago. We're kind of like jealous a little bit now that more people are getting exposed to Nick, but also too we understand that it's a net positive. The more people hear these ideas, the better the country will be, I believe, long term. So good on PBD, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what he does next on this generational run. Joe Rogan could be next. It was my prediction. It was like in, I think I'd like to say April 2025, that within the next year from then, so until April 2026, I think Joe will have Nick on. And we shall see, because we're halfway there, and it's looking pretty convincing. This generational run's only going to continue, so. But we're actually still going to talk about Nick, believe it or not. Specifically because he went on Alex Jones literally a couple hours ago. And a lot of people have been upset with Donald Trump, including Alex Jones now, specifically for what he said about Ukraine and Russia. So if you remember all the way back at the beginning of this year, Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance had Vladimir Zelensky to the White House. And they bitched him, dude. He was a bitch. They completely hammered him on, listen, like, you're taking all our money. You're going to do what we say. It was a spectacle, and it was viral, if you don't remember. It was insane. And it kind of made you feel like, you know what, maybe voting for Trump, maybe it worked out. Maybe we are now going to tell all these foreign countries, like, no more aid until you benefit us. None of this shit. We are not going to be, for lack of a better term, the bitch anymore. Like, you're going to have to listen to us. We own you. At least that's what we thought. And then Trump said today, well, I want Ukraine to take all of the land. Ukraine gets all of the land. Who cares about Russia? I hope Ukraine gets all of it. In fact, that's what I want. I want Ukraine to get all of the land. Ukraine is going to get all of this land that they're fighting over. Time and time again. And it just left people like me like, what the fuck? I thought, for lack of a better term, what the fuck? I thought we were, going to benefit. I thought we weren't going to give any more funding to this foreign country. This foreign country that has been so thought for so many years to be corrupt, known to be corrupt, in fact, all the way since 2014. You can look all this information up. This historically corrupt country, why are we giving more money to this country that, number one, doesn't benefit us? What do they do for us? Nothing. Number two, it's not even on our soil. It's not on our soil. It's not connected to our soil. It's not on the same continent. Why are we giving this foreign country money when we have inner cities, when we have states in this country that are very much struggling, that are hurting, that are crumbling? We have infrastructure that is crumbling. Why are we giving billions of dollars to a foreign country that has nothing to do with us? And for a long time, it appeared like Trump was kind of going to channel our energy and going to do what we wanted him to do, which was end the war and stop the money, which is one of the reasons we put him in there. And he flipped by doing exactly what I said. Now he's pro-Ukraine all the way, wants them to take all the land. And it's very upsetting to a lot of people, including Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones. And so Nick went on Alex Jones today, and they were just discussing how Trump has become worse on the Ukraine war than Joe Biden. It is not something that I thought I would ever say. It is not something that I'm sure Nick and Alex thought they would say. And we were very critical of Biden when he was back in the presidency, and very critical of all that he was doing in supporting Ukraine and stoking World War III. But listen to what Nick and Alex Jones are saying regarding this topic. Here we go.
I said in December, I think people are going to be surprised that Trump will have to escalate before even attempting to de-escalate. I said, there's no way Trump is going to accept a loss right out of the gate. But I had no idea they were going to push it this far. This is more extreme than Biden. And it's deja vu all over again because, you remember in the first term, Obama really started this with Euromaidan in 2014, and they supported Ukraine against the secession, the Donbass war, before Russia got directly involved or officially involved. When Trump got in the first term, he was sending Ukraine lethal aid. He was arming Ukraine, and Ukraine was buying drones, and they were getting actual weapons from America.
Well, he sent them a bunch
it's
of
like deja vu.
He sent them tens of thousands of low-tech, thousands of anti-tank and anti-aircraft missiles.
Exactly. So that he escalated from Obama in the first term, and now he's escalating from Biden in the second term. And yeah, nobody voted for nuclear war. Nobody voted for war with Russia. And this was maybe like one of the big things, if not the biggest thing next to immigration, why we needed Trump in some sense. I know it was very contentious whether to support Trump or not for me on my show. I would say at the minimum, the two reasons that you would make the case to vote for him that were undeniable were the war in Ukraine and immigration. And there's maybe an argument to be made about immigration, but this is just a catastrophe of epic proportions.
Well, let's
and
expand
it's
on
just,
that. I think you nailed it. That's what
And that's right. It's so unfortunate that this is happening. It feels like the American people have been taken advantage of time and time again. We continue to let these politicians say, oh yeah, we're going to do this, this, and this. And then when they get in, they do nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it feels like, when is it going to be different? When will all of this shit stop? And it's a valid question. People need to understand, like, when we put these people in, there has to be a consequence of them not following what we wanted them to do. Okay. So then Alex Jones gets to the point, which is a little bit insane because he's so pro-Trump. Alex gets to the point where he says he's ready to go on a warpath on Trump. So we're going to play that for you as well.
Trump is all talk. He always chickens out with China, with terrorists, with the National Guard in Chicago. I mean, you name it, everything that he threatens.
Exactly, but he's chickening out on the dumbass commie mayor and the Democrat governor. This is the biggest nuclear power, and the Russians are taking this serious. You know they're having the same discussions, but you don't play around with this. It's very
I agree.
reckless, and I will say it. Those statements by Trump were incompetent. And
it is incompetence.
And it's my life and our planet's life. So Trump better reverse this right now, or I'm going to start going on the warpath.
Trump better reverse this right now, or I'm going to start going on the warpath. Why? Like, you even got to the point, if you're Donald Trump, like, you even got to the point where Alex Jones turned on you. So you already lost your independent voters. You already lost Gen Z white men, which you should be doing everything. If you're Trump, if you're the Republican Party, you should be doing everything to make sure you keep Gen Z white men. You're going to have them for 70 years. But it all started in December. I will say, Shide and I, myself included, him included, we completely shilled for Trump. If you weren't watching this channel when the election was going on and before the election, we shilled for Trump. Had no financial gain, just strictly off of what we believed. And we thought it was end-all be-all. It was the most important election of our lifetime in what it seemed like back then. I bought it. I bought the mass deportations that he said would happen. At least he shut down the border. I'll give him credit for that. That's the only thing he's done. I bought the mass deportations. I bought that he would end the Russia-Ukraine war and the Israel-Palestine conflict in 24 hours of being president-elect. That's literally what he said. He said, I don't know if it was Israel, but he definitely said this about Russia-Ukraine. He said, I will end the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Russia-Ukraine war, in 24 hours of being president-elect. Well, we are, we are 7 months in, 8 months in, and guess what? The war is still going on. Not 7 months in after the election. No, we're like 7 months into your presidency, sir. We are 7 to 8 months in to your presidency, and still going on. But you told us that it would end in 24 hours within you being president-elect. What the fuck? And what Nick talked about in the beginning is mostly true. Trump is a con man, and everything that the left has been saying about him for the past decade is pretty much true. I think back to Mitt Romney's comment about Trump University and how it was a scam, and that's true. Trump was a builder, yes, but he didn't do it. He went bankrupt like 9 times because he's a scammer. Continue going on here. This guy executed a pump and dump while he was in office. He executed a Trump coin pump and dump and grew his net worth into it was by $4 billion more. He was already worth like $2.5 billion. Now he's worth around $7 billion. He grew his net worth by like $4 billion because of a crypto scam. Think about that. While he was an active president of the United States, he scammed his voters and was able to capitalize off that by making billions and billions of dollars while still being in the White House. Is that not crazy? Like, we voted in this guy, and yes, you could talk about the DEI stuff, which is mostly culture war stuff, and the only reason you could consider it a win is because it's not pushed out in our face. And so you could call that a win, whatever, but now he's doing the opposite of what he campaigned against. I can't talk, I'm sorry. He was talking about the DEI and saying how we need to have a meritocracy. He was talking about how we need to end these special protections, and just if you are the best, you get the position. But now it appears he's going back on that. Now he's saying if you're anti-Semitic, you in some instances, get deported. So now people that are Jewish are getting special protections. It's like, when is this going to end? Why did we not see what he was getting? Why did we not pay attention to the donor money? Why did we not pay attention that he got $100 million from Miriam Adelson? And now he basically does the bidding of Israel. Why did we not pay attention to this? I just feel a little sense of shame because I shilled so hard for this guy. And I bought that he was going to put us forward. He was going to get manufacturing jobs back to the country, that we were going to have employment, that we were going to have the mass deportations, that we were not going to put other countries first. But it appears like it was a giant scam. And it's so frustrating, man. It is. I just feel ashamed. Like, literally, legit, nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. It is so. I just feel shame. I will never, ever fall for this again. But I feel duped. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I feel duped. This guy is not doing anything. Not doing anything. And he feels old now. And none of the jokes are hitting. He's not really funny anymore. I mean, other people have pointed this out, but like, you used to wake up in high school or grade school, and you wake up to a Trump tweet, and it's maybe 15 characters, or 15 words, like 100 characters. It wasn't a paragraph like he does now. And it was insane, yes, but it was hilarious because it was Trump. And that was back in the days when he was wild. And now he just feels old, man. He feels tired. Nothing's working. The threats, everybody's caught on to Trumpism. It's just baseless threats. And the tariffs, they're saying the tariffs aren't working. Prices are going up. Things were bad under Biden. I remember it was $5 gas. It wasn't great. And then on top of that, too, and I'll be done with this after I talk about Charlie Kirk. But after Charlie was killed, after Irina Zarutska was killed, you would think that he would do something, right? He would some sort of protection or something and say that white people were under attack maybe, especially after the Irina Zarutska video. But he didn't do anything. People are like, oh, they killed Charlie Kirk. They killed one of his best friends. Oh, I can't wait to see what he does now. And he did nothing. He had a convention, a Republican National Convention for the memorial of Charlie Kirk. That's it. There was nothing. There was no saying, hey, you know, we have a crisis. You could consider something a crisis. Biden did it. Biden did it when he said, we have American domestic terrorists. It's a crisis. And he targeted white people in particular, certain white groups. And he named them. And he said, America has a domestic terrorist issue, and it's real. But Trump didn't even pay lip service to that like Biden did. It was nothing. There was no urgency. The jobs aren't here. Prices are going up. Everything's a clown show. Everything feels like it's theater. Nothing is serious. The Epstein files, my gosh, what happened? Ever since 2020, 2019, it feels like you've been talking about the Epstein files now. Oh, a bunch of Democrats are implicated in the Epstein files. No, when we get in, we're going to release them. All these people. You want Bill Clinton to go to jail? Guess what? He's in it. When I'm in power, he's gone. Bill Gates, you want Bill Gates to go to jail? He's in the files. When I get in power, he's gone. These people, it's just, it hasn't happened. Do you notice that? They used the death of Charlie Kirk to cover up the Epstein files being released. And now you have the Democrats saying release the Epstein files. And guess what? When they win in 2028, the Republicans are going to be saying the same thing. And I guarantee you the Dems are not going to release it. So it begs the question then, is Trump one of the swamp? Because the swamp hasn't been drained. You understand? It's been 10 years. The swamp has not been drained. If anything, there are more people in the swamp. The swamp is bigger now. So with the rise of populism in America, with the rise of Trump, it's like, what has it accomplished really? If anything, it's only made Americans more aware of all of the shit that's going on, but populism has not been a win. Now, maybe a different candidate than Trump, somebody more to the right or to the left will change things. I don't know. But what does Trump really represent? I don't think he represents anything at this point besides himself and besides Israel's interests. And so that's all I have on that topic. But it pisses me off, man, because we shilled for him, dude. We practically were doing tricks on it, and I just feel played. On to a different topic. This is something that I've been waiting for. I haven't had a lot of time to talk about this, but now it's the perfect time. Because I'm going to restart that. Brigitte Macron, yeah, I think she's a lady. And I think we have proof. Tim Dillon, I'm not going to play the clip, but Tim Dillon was quoted as asking Brigitte to, quote, show her puss. And that would solve everything. Because Candace Owens, for the past year and a half, has been claiming that Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, his wife, the first lady of France, is actually a man. And then a couple months ago, she even said that Brigitte is Emmanuel's father. Now, if you think that is nuts, you are like the majority of sane people in the world. What we have here from the New York Post, Brigitte is going to be providing photo proof to the courts to prove she's a woman. Here we go. Brigitte Macron to present scientific and photographic evidence to U.S. court proving she's a woman. What? French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte will present photographic and scientific evidence to a U.S. court to prove the French lady is, in fact, a woman. Candace is going broke, dude. The two are submitting the documentation as part of a defamation lawsuit against conservative influencer Candace Owens, who claimed that Brigitte Macron was born a male and later secretly transitioned. The Macron's attorney, Tom Clare, told BBC's Fame Under Fire podcast that there will be expert testimony and that will come out that will be scientific in nature. And here are the two right here. The attorney did not elaborate on exactly what it would be, beyond what it would include pictures of Brigitte, now 72, when she was pregnant with their kids. The French power couple is ready to demonstrate both generically and specifically that the allegations are false, Claire stated firmly. Quote, "It is incredibly upsetting to think that you have to go and subject yourself to this type of proof forward," unquote. He said at the distress it caused the First Lady. It is a process that she will have to subject herself to in a very public way, but she's willing to do it. She firmly resolved to do what it takes to get the record straight. Owens had repeatedly claimed without evidence that Brigitte Macron, 72, was born male, going as far as to say on her podcast earlier this year that she would take her entire professional career and stake it on all of those points. The Macrons filed a lawsuit against Owens in Delaware in July, alleging Owens disregarded all credible evidence disproving her claim in favor of platforming known conspiracy theorists and proven defamers. She's fucked, dude. I don't know. I never understood why she would go after Brigitte Macron, go after this story randomly. You can go over to Nick Fuentes and he has ideas about it online. But I never understood, for the love of, I never understood why. Why would Candace go after this random person in power over a country that has nothing to do with her? And so now I have prepared for you a clip where Candace has gone so far now that she is claiming Brigitte Macron is part of the conspiracy to stop her, I kid you not, from exposing that Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk. So now she's moving the goalpost. She knows she's going to lose in court and be guilty of defamation and have to pay lots of money. Now she's saying, oh no, Brigitte, who now she's referring to as Brigitte. She was referring to Macron's wife as a male name. But now she's saying, Brigitte Macron, no, like, yeah, whatever. Don't pay attention to the fact that she's a man. She's not. She's, in fact, a woman. But don't pay attention to those accusations that I made months ago. Now, focus on, like, right here. Now, Brigitte Macron, was part of the conspiracy that Israel killed Charlie Kirk. So here's the video. You can see this woman has gone mad.
They're working on a narrative like they always do. They're coming in, they're squeezing, and they're trying to pretend that Charlie and I didn't speak for years. It could not be further from the truth.
Honey, you literally said that this woman was a man and that this woman's husband was actually her son. What? Don't make this about Charlie.
Okay? Charlie and I never for a single second stopped being friends. Ever. Never happened. They can't produce one shred of evidence to that effect.
Can you reference the defamation lawsuit, please? I would love to know what you have to think about being guilty of defamation and having to pay like $10 million. This woman is going broke.
Nope, just donors. And the donors at Turning Point need to be investigated because what I'm hearing, like I said, from Turning Point sources is not good. And guess what? If it's got to be me and you need to hate me forever, that's totally fine. On top of that, talk about a federal operation out of nowhere. Brigitte Macron just lies. I don't even know how they got this in the press. This is so dumb. Brigitte Macron comes out and says they have offered scientific evidence to the U.S. court to prove that Brigitte is a woman. That's what her lawyer says. Well, the lawyer's a liar because we haven't even started this case yet.
She's literally saying she's going to take a picture, multiple pictures, of her vagina as a 72-year-old woman just to prove that she's a woman. And Candace is like, she's going to provide scientific evidence. What's so scientific about a picture? And she's a little bit dumb. But guys, she's collapsing. She's spiraling. And I just don't understand why she picked this fight.
So how could you have offered scientific proof to a court to prove you're a woman, especially because you're not suing me over the claim that I said you were born a man? You were born a man. Oh, I guess you're born a boy, a male is what I should say. You're born a male, and you've never sued anybody for making that statement. You sue for things around it. You're suing me because you're saying, well, you said I stole the identity from my sister. I'm not a thief. You've never sued anybody for the claim that you were born male.
What? I'd love to believe you, but when this lady is saying she will provide evidence that she's a woman, scientific evidence, and you're like, what's so scientific about that? What could be scientific evidence? A picture. Like, I'm going to go back to the article here because I think it means something. When we go back all the way up here, Brigitte Macron to present scientific and photographic evidence to U.S. court proving she's a woman. Scientific and photographic. What do you think that means? What's so scientific about a photo? What? Say a prayer for Candace Owens. I just don't understand. She's going to lose this court case, by the way. She's going to lose millions and millions of dollars for defamation. I don't understand why she went after Brigitte Macron. I don't understand what motive she has for going after Emmanuel Macron. It never made sense to me. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it at all. And so we're going to go back to Candace Owens, actually, because she has been in more hot water. So if you remember correctly, Candace Owens was not invited to Charlie Kirk's memorial. Now, Candace is somebody that is very conspiratorial, especially over the last 2 years. She's lost a lot of credibility, but she still has lots of fans. And she's been pushing the narrative that Charlie Kirk has been killed by Israel. Again, I'm not going to relitigate, but to me it just doesn't make any sense. Charlie Kirk was their number one guy in terms of promoting Zionism, in terms of promoting Israel. And every time that somebody like a Nick Fuentes was brought up, or the Groypers were brought up, or a Groyper talking point was brought up, Charlie would say, oh, no, it's truly evil to be anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitism is such a great sin, and you're going to be damned to hell if you're anti-Semitic, and would cite the Bible and would cite different things just to prove that point. And say, oh, no, like Israel, we are called to bless Israel. If you're any way against Israel, then you're in direct conflict with God, and so on and so forth. Even if these claims, which they were credible. And when people would start to ask, hey, why are we supposed to support this genocide happening in Gaza? Why are we supposed to support ethnic cleansing? It just doesn't make any sense. And Charlie would defend it because he was very pro-Israel. So the thought, once again, that Israel took him out makes no sense. Now they are at a greater disadvantage because their number one guy for Gen Z is dead. So Candace, after declining to attend the memorial, saying that she was scared for her safety, even though she just wasn't invited, She's speculating now that Charlie Kirk's assassin shot him from underground tunnels. What? Emerging from a trap door. This is what she said. This is what this woman said, and we're supposed to trust her intelligence and trust her as a reporter? I don't get it, man. I don't understand. We clearly know from the ballistics that he was shot from the top of that roof. From 200 yards away. It's weird, but like, let's just play the clip.
There was a massive pipeline that was almost exactly behind where Charlie was sitting. Here's that maybe it's a water pipeline. I don't know, but there it is under the flag. And to your right, I went into my tips line and I saw that somebody had messaged me about this. More than one person messaged me about this. They're like, hey, yeah, there's like a whole underground thing there. And to your right, you're observing those two little boxes. And they told me that was a...
Okay, so these are what she's saying are the boxes right here.
A trap door. Now, I'm not implying someone, popped up and shot Charlie, but that's a close-up of...
Okay, so she's saying, real quick, that Charlie Kirk was shot from somewhere else that wasn't the top of that building. She's saying that there were pipe systems. Somebody told her there were these underground pipe systems, and she's saying, yeah, I'm not implying that he was shot. It's like somebody came out of a trap door. I'm not implying somebody came out of a trap door and shot him. When literally she shows a picture of a trap door. So right here, right, she's saying that behind the pipe right here, there's these two little squares and that there was a pipe system over here. Listen.
And they told me that was a trap door.
And they told me that was a trap door.
I'm not implying someone, popped up and shot Charlie, but
I'm not implying that somebody popped up and shot Charlie. When, like, you're showing an open trap door and you're saying that Charlie Kirk was shot from a distance that wasn't 200 yards away where the shooter was thought to be.
That's a close-up of that area. I'm just implying that there's an entire underground there.
Do you understand the contradiction? She's saying, I'm not implying that he was shot from a trap door, but I'm just saying there's an entire underground pipeline over there. Don't you think somebody would have saw? Realistically, don't you think that somebody would have saw if this happened, right? Crazy if it happened. But if somebody right by Charlie Kirk's tent, think about this now, popped up from underground, shot him from close range, don't you think the 3,000 people that were looking at him would have seen a trapdoor open right by his tent? Don't you think that they would have rushed the trapdoor? Don't you think that they would have found the shooter, caught the shooter? Like Kash Patel, the FBI, nobody heard a peep of this. What?
And I remember when I looked at the footage, I felt like it was coming up. I don't know anything about ballistics. I'm not an expert.
She said, again, destroying her credibility. I felt like the bullet was coming up, but I'm not an expert. I don't know anything about ballistics at all. What are you talking about? You see, this is what I mean. She's destroying her credibility time and time again, and this is why, for a multitude of reasons, this is why she was not invited to the memorial. She was not invited to speak at the memorial despite being a much bigger voice than the majority of the speakers at the memorial. Well, I found something. I found something on X, and I just have to play it. This kind of sums up Candace Owens from the past year or so in regards to her conspiracy theory takes. So please enjoy it. You're going to get a laugh out of it. Here we go.
She can connect any two events in history with yarn, thumbtacks, and unwarranted confidence. She doesn't need sources. She is the source. She once debated herself and lost twice. Intelligence agencies follow her Twitter just to see what they're doing next. She never met an obvious explanation she couldn't turn into a confusing 2-hour podcast. She possesses priceless secrets, but will share them with anyone for a small subscription fee. In her world, all roads lead to Israel, even cul-de-sacs. She is the most kooky podcaster in the world. But then again, the feds told us to say that. She can
Come on, man. Is there anything more accurate than that about this woman? This woman is insane. I can't even remember the last piece of credible journalism that she did. This whole Brigitte Macron thing, and now she's kind of going off the deep end about Charlie Kirk. Are you even a conservative commentator anymore? Are you even a political commentator anymore? Or are you just like about conspiracies and gossip? If so, fine, whatever. But don't pretend to be a political commentator. Don't pretend to be a journalist. It's just, I don't understand this woman. This is not a serious person. And I've went after her time and time again because it just doesn't make sense. I'm very anti-Israel. I think there's a lot of questions there. I've been talking about it for a long time, but what do I do? Always, I provide evidence. This woman has no evidence whatsoever. And it is absolutely insane, the connections that she tries to make or attempts to make, as put bluntly by that TikTok I just showed you. Hilarious, dude. So what's going to happen with Candace over the next couple of months, I don't know. I think she's going to have to pay out millions of dollars for this lawsuit. And I don't know why her husband just doesn't say, hey, listen, like, enough is enough. You need to take care of the kids. It's just absolutely insane. It's crazy, dude. Speaking of crazy, Donald Trump is in the news again. Now, he's the president of the United States, so naturally you would think that he's always going to be in the news. But he had a little bit of a gaffe, folks, and this story takes an interesting turn. But on its face, it's pretty silly. So, yesterday, the Trump administration announced they found a crazy, you could say crazy is the least thing you could say, but a groundbreaking study. A study where they were able to link Tylenol use while pregnant to autism in children. And I'm going to play the clip for you, but this is very interesting to see what came out of this. Now, Donald Trump, to his credit, whether or not this is actually like true, he is not the right messenger at all. You're going to see at the beginning of this clip, he can't even pronounce acetaminophen when he reads it, which is the most Trump thing ever. But I'm going to play this for you, so take a listen.
Effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
That was hard to get through in and of itself. So if that was like really annoying and you had to click off the video, I understand it. But continuing.
Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol. During pregnancy can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Did you lose brain cells? I understand if you did. But what he said is taking Tylenol could lead to autism, is what he said. So naturally, this sent the internet into a storm. And whether or not this is a credible thing, whether or not this is like truth or not, I don't know, right? The studies literally just came out. They just announced this. But it's quite interesting how many liberal pregnant moms on TikTok immediately started taking Tylenol with like, and they're like 8 months. They're showing they're like obviously pregnant. And the craze amongst these liberal moms was quite crazy. So I'm going to play a couple of these videos that they put on TikTok after Trump said this. Here we go.
28 weeks pregnant. You know what I'm going to take? Some Tylenol, acetaminophen. It's going to work like a charm, and my baby won't have autism.
All right, so let's be charitable here. Tylenol is for many things, but it's a pain reliever. And many people take it, especially pregnant women, when they have a fever. Now, again, we're being charitable, so if you have a fever and you're a pregnant woman, you don't want to hurt the baby. You don't want yourself to be hurt. You want the fever to go away. I completely understand it. I empathize with it, okay? But as soon as Trump said this, more liberal pregnant women, which I'm going to show you, were posting videos of this and starting to appear a little bit insane, to say the least.
About to take Tylenol for my headache while pregnant because I don't take my medical advice from a man who doesn't have a degree in science, healthcare, or medicine, and who had a parasitic brain infection and was addicted to heroin for 14 years. Yeah, I'll trust my doctors who have their degree.
Honestly, that's a fair critique. I'm not even going to say it's not. It's a fair critique. So, obviously, these women are upset. But then the biggest curveball of all happens, okay? A tweet from 2017 from the actual company, Tylenol. It resurfaces. And so it says right here, from 2:31 p.m., March 7th, 2017. Quote, we don't recommend using any of our products while pregnant. Thank you for taking the time to voice your concerns today. What? You're telling me this shit is true? We're going to fact check this right here real quick. That tweet, let me go back to it. That tweet, right? The tweet that now all this attention is focused on from Tylenol, right? And it has the tag Tylenol. But maybe this is a meme account. I don't know. Maybe this is a fake account. Well, right here, it has a decent amount of followers. It says, we know that pain affects everyone. It has no limits. That's why we need care without limits, because the greater the care, the greater the comfort. And you don't have a lot of tweets. This is back from 2021, right? A week ago, research, right? Research. You go all the way back. We're getting tweets back 2019, okay? I'm just trying to look at this as an unbiased thing. 2018, you have tweets from this account, right? Continuing to go on here. 2017, Tylenol's tweeting. All the way back. Let's go back more. 2016 now we're going to get to. They're tweeting in 2016, right? These are all 2016. So this account has been around for a long time. And guess what? It's posting tweets that say Tylenol. So this obviously is not a fake account. This is the Tylenol account. This is the Tylenol Twitter account. But let's even go further. Tylenol.com. Oh, look, it has Tylenol.com linked where you can buy products from Tylenol right here. So this is obviously not a fake account that I thought. This is like a legit account. This is a real thing, which is nuts. So you mean to tell me in 2017 that the company Tylenol literally tweeted that we don't recommend you take our products while pregnant. So even though Trump is the guy who created Operation Warp Speed, and I would not trust him with any medical advice whatsoever. He's not particularly intelligent in this field. We don't even have to guess. We know that's true. But is he right? It's a legit question. Because I don't know how to feel about it now. And then Twitter sleuths, they dug up old articles. Now, I'm not going to read them. I'm just going to read the headlines here. But this is quite interesting. So we're going to zoom in on these here, and we're gonna show you, because I don't know what to think now. Here's the first one. Mount Sinai study supports evidence that prenatal acetaminophen may be linked to increased risk of autism and ADHD. What? PubMed right here. Use of acetaminophen during pregnancy and the risk of autism spectrum disorder in the offspring. Huh. And this one's from 2016. Continuing on, this right here, this is from NIH.gov. The role of oxidative stress, inflammation, and acetaminophen exposure from birth to early childhood in the induction of autism. This right here is from 2017. Another one from 2016. Tylenol may increase risk of autism in children if taken during pregnancy. Guys, I'm going to continue to go on. This is pediatrics. prenatal exposure to acetaminophen and the risk of ADHD. This is from 2017. Another one from ResearchGate. Prenatal and postnatal exposure to acetaminophen in relation to autism spectrum and attention deficit and hyperactivity symptoms in childhood. Meta-analysis in 6 European population-based cohorts. 2021. Guys, there's more. From Health News, acetaminophen use during pregnancy can impact kids' behavior, researchers warned. This is in 2022. Another one in 2023. Does using Tylenol during pregnancy lead to autism? More experts raise alarm. Another one. University of Washington School in Medicine. Doctors told pregnant women Tylenol was safe. New research raises doubts. This was in March of 2025, so earlier this year. Guys, is Trump right? Furthermore, are these women crazy? Are these liberal women crazy? We kind of knew that anything Trump says, they will do the opposite. Somebody on Twitter said if Trump said that eating poop was bad, then they would just post videos on TikTok eating poop. I don't know, but it is kind of crazy. I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm afraid of the pushback. But imagine if he's right. Imagine if Tylenol does lead to autism. I don't know. I'm really trying not to pick a side here because I don't know. I would say if you're a pregnant woman, you're probably not watching the show. But if you are a pregnant woman, ask your doctor. Probably what your doctor has been telling you is probably a good move. Are we going to give him any credit? He might be right. I know it's crazy to say, but he might be right. If the CDC has been actually doing research about this one particular topic, and they're able to do research about this now, RFK is leading the all of the studies, and the NIH is doing their job, he could be onto something. And if so, if this is actually real groundbreaking research and we're not just getting lip service or talking points or goy slop information, if we're actually getting real information, then this is a win. But I don't know. All these articles, man, Tylenol literally saying don't take our products if you're pregnant. I would advise everybody in the comments, everybody watching this video, go look up those articles and tell me what they say. Is it just for the headline? Because I didn't want to read all the articles. I don't want to take a lot of time from the show. But I think we might have more information on this in the future. If so, we already didn't think too highly of those liberal women that were just doing the opposite of what Trump said and potentially exposing their kids, let's be honest. But very interesting. And like I said, this story took a turn. So more on that to come. But, wow. All I have to say is wow. And that brings me to our next topic. So a little bit of a switch up now. Anna Kasparian, who is really, really good on all the issues. She's on the left. But in particular, what I'm talking about is the situation in Gaza. And she has been very vocal about her opposition to what Israel is doing in Gaza and the West Bank, right? We know this. Well, she has a podcast where she's with Jillian Michaels, and she does a show with Jillian Michaels. And what happened next was really crazy because Anna was rightfully discussing the whole situation and the genocide in Gaza and how they're ethnically cleansing the region and how innocent people are being killed by Israel. And look at what happens when Jillian Michaels is confronted with these ideas and what she does. So we're going to play that for you. Here we go.
Americans shouldn't. Netanyahu is a bad guy. And he wanted to make it seem like, no, we were all great. We were good. We had a great relationship. Little did we know behind the scenes, there was a lot of pressure towards
ends up
Netanyahu.
being about how do we bash Israel. This is not for me. I'm not interested in this.
Okay,
I love
I
you
know.
guys.
I'm sorry. Let's be good. Let's be good about precious Israel. Let the country committing a genocide. Yeah. Okay.
Zero. I think you guys are great. I fundamentally disagree with you about every show doing this. I'm sorry.
Cool. So can we continue the conversation?
Yeah. Let's.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Wow. Okay, guys. So, again, to clarify, I don't think Israel did it. And you want to know what's crazy is the
American should.
Wow. So, Jillian Michaels, which by the way, she's Jewish, completely just walked off the set. Didn't even want to talk about the genocide that was happening, what Netanyahu's doing in Gaza, because it's horrific. It's really, really bad, and I've been raising the alarm on this as well, as much as I can. And I know other people that have been kind of putting their career on the line specifically to talk about this issue, that we have to raise awareness. Like, shit's happening that we're paying for with our tax dollars. Innocent people are being killed with weapons that are being used by a foreign country who was sent the weapons by us. We paid for the weapons. Our taxes paid for the weapons. Non-consensually, like, nobody voted for this. Nobody that lives in the United States voted for this. Congress kind of just hijacked us. We didn't put them there for that. And so Anna has been talking about this time and time again, and I guess Jillian Michaels just, for whatever reason, didn't want to go through with it and didn't want to talk about it because it's so horrific. And then Jillian responds on X. So I'll give you context. Anna, her spat that she had with Jillian Michaels was on the cover of a Young Turks episode, and they talked all about it. And Jillian responded by saying this, quote, "I want to address why I chose to step out of the most recent segment of Her Take," which is the podcast that they were on. "I have sat through many conversations that were highly critical of Israel, and I've never shied away from hearing different viewpoints on legitimate topics. However, I do not want to participate in discussions that center on unfounded conspiracy theories that could inadvertently stoke the fires of anti-Semitism. I think it's dangerous, irresponsible, and not something I'm willing to participate in. I expressed deep concern prior to the show with the other hosts, but when it came clear that the segment would proceed despite my objections, I felt the best choice for me was to leave the segment. To Anna Kasparian, I have publicly sung your praises. I fought for you to get the job on Her Take. For you to make this shitty YouTube post for clicks is sad. I posted it below for you. Hope these AdSense dollars pay you the money you're after. While I have appreciated your upset after what's happening in Gaza, I think it's possible that when you start saying things on your content like, quote, you might think you're God's chosen people when you behave like demons, end quote, it might be crossing the line. When almost every episode of Her Take has to bash Israel, it might be overkill. When we have to discuss conspiracy theories about Israel's connections to hideous events like 9/11 or Charlie Kirk's murder, it could border on irresponsible and dangerous. Sorry if I wasn't game. You're a real gem. Keep at it. Dan Bilzerian says you're Jewish underneath. But she's right. Anna's right. She's been right on all the issues. I haven't seen her say anything about Israel being behind Charlie Kirk's death. I don't think they were, and I'd be critical if I saw that, but I haven't. She's been really good on the issues, and I know as Jillian Michaels, somebody that is Jewish, somebody that was probably taught to defend Israel, it's hard for her to imagine, hard for her to take in. But when you constantly see the videos of the beheaded babies, at some point it does radicalize you. And then when you learn once again that we are paying for this, essentially, how could you not be angry? How could you not be frustrated? And this whole giant spectacle of all of this stuff being upset because the country that you were taught to love and cherish and put above everything else, including America, by the way, you literally live in America. You can't take an opinion that's not your own and you just walk off. It's not what this country is about. That's not, we're supposed to have civil discourse, and just walking away from something instead of like diagnosing the problem and understanding why does she have this viewpoint, it's not good. And if this conflict is ever going to be solved, if we're ever going to actually talk about like the truth about any of this stuff, then we should be able to have civil conversation. So that's crazy, man. That's just absolutely insane. I have 2 more topics today, and we're going to be done with the show, but just insane. Actually, I'm not going to do this one. We have 1 more. Hillary Clinton is in the news again, and it's not for something that's good. Shocker. She came out today, and she was on CNN, I believe, and she said that white Christian men are causing the most damage to the United States. So it's actually MSNBC, I'm sorry. Nevertheless, she came out and she said that white Christian men are doing the most damage to the United States. And I just don't think that that's true, but nevertheless, let's play the clip. And to preface it, she's not looking great these days. Take a watch.
We haven't gotten to the more perfect union, and we fought a civil war over part of it. And people have been protesting, for hundreds of years that, things were not as they should be, given our ideals and how we should be moving toward them. So I think that's what makes us so special as a country. And the idea that you could turn the clock back and try to recreate a world that never was, dominated by, let's say it, white men of a certain persuasion, a certain religion, a certain point of view, a certain ideology, is just doing such damage to what we should be aiming for. And we were on the path toward that. I mean, imperfectly, lots of, bumps along the way, but I agree with you, we were on the right trajectory.
Let me.
Hillary. What she's referencing, folks, let me put this down. What she's referencing is saying that people more and more are talking about how we need to get back to what America was. A lot of people in this country are saying America was better when it was majority white. And if you look at the statistics, you look at the job numbers, you look about how we were having more kids back at that time, people were employed, family, the nuclear family was intact. We didn't have all the godlessness or the crime or the problems we have now. It's true. This is how it is. And when the country was more Christian, it was better as well. And she goes on to say how we were on the trajectory to getting away from that. We were on the trajectory to having a more inclusive, a better society. And obviously, we don't have it in her eyes. Now, what she's insinuating is that if I would have won, the country would be better off. If I would have won, then we would be more inclusive. And it's funny, she kind of contradicts herself because in one hand, she's saying people are saying the country was good. We were kind of getting onto that track. We were going into the direction of it being good, in her opinion. Which is to say, she says now that America isn't a majority white country and it's not a majority Christian country, that we're not on that path, which is odd because in one hand you're saying if we were on that path to being more inclusive and a better country, but now we're not. So you're saying one thing, but you're also saying that we're not going to go back to what you guys wanted, which was the majority white, majority Christian country, as to say it's better now. So on one hand, you're saying it's better now, but the other hand, you're saying we could have been on the path to being a better country. So you're contradicting yourself. But furthermore, aren't you white and Christian? It doesn't make sense. Honestly, she's just a political mouthpiece at this point for the Democratic Party or for liberalism. Obviously, one of the more mainstream, moderate Democrats, neoconservative types. Somebody politically irrelevant now. Nobody is thinking about her at all. She looks awful. But notice how the Democratic Party more and more is bashing white men in particular and bashing Christianity. When it just feels like it's coming back now. Like Gen Z is converted to Catholicism at crazy rates and becoming Christian and going back to church in general at crazy rates. And so now they see that this country, they're going to lose power. They see that that's already happening. They're already losing influence. They're already losing all of the credibility they have with mainstream media, and that's dying. But more and more when people start to become invested in religion, in traditionalism, in Christianity, and they start to see things on the outside for what they really are, they start to see like, oh no, you don't deserve this power. All this stuff that you're kind of painting for us as a picture of how to actually live, it's not right. And the nuclear family's coming back. And this isn't going to be the country that Hillary Clinton wanted, but also too, she's corrupt, as all of them are. She is one of the most corrupt. You look at her net worth now versus 20 years ago, 10 years ago, when she was in the administration, the Obama administration. It's like, there was 15 years ago, I should say, but like there's a big difference. She's been able to capitalize off of all of this stuff, essentially being a lawmaker, and been able to make a lot of money from doing so. And she's preached to a lot of people about how they ought to act, calling people deplorables, just constantly demeaning these people that voted Trump or that are on the right. And now she's mad when these people, these kids that have grown up in particular, are saying, hey, we don't like you because you've talked down to us for a decade, in some instances a decade and a half. And the country's going a different way. And good. So it is what it is, but it's quite obvious that she's losing lots of relevance. And she hasn't been very relevant for a very long time, but she's obviously very bitter that she lost in 2016. And so, what are you going to do? But that's the show. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you would like to financially support the show more, if you've stayed to this point, for as little as 99 cents per month, you can support the Luke Papala Show and this channel in general. What that'll be able to do is make the content better for you, make it more entertaining for you. We'll be able to spend your money that you're donating to us, thank you, on things like better sound, better cameras, a better studio, perhaps. Eventually, we'll be making content besides the podcast, besides the clips, going into more comedy, sketch comedy, stuff like that. But in particular, this is something that we're offering for the first time now, and multiple tiers. For the more expensive one, you'll be able to have your name read at the end of every podcast episode, which is kind of cool. But for as low as 99 cents per month, you'll be able to financially support the show for the first time ever. But if you can't do that, subscribing is free. Hitting the bell to be notified about all of our posts here is free. A like is free. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much to everybody who watched to this point. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.